Enjoy 1% merchant commission when you accept Lanka Pay cards. Contact these banks today.
Welcome to Times Online. Today we have with us Mr. Hasitha Premaratne, Group Managing Director of Brandix Group, to talk us through the way forward of the company. Welcome, Mr. Premaratne. To start off with, could you please explain about the industry, the current apparel industry?
Yeah, I think the global apparel industry saw a very fast recovery post COVID pandemic.
Yes.
If you remember, in 2020, we went into kind of a clear drop in the market. And in 2021 and 2022, we saw a very sharp recovery in the Western market, particularly in the US. There was a lot of subsidies that were offered. Consumers stood at home and mostly spent that money by buying clothing. So as a result, there was a demand that was created, which the difficulties in the supply chain to manufacture during that crisis time. Obviously, we had a supply shortage and a demand increasing beyond the supply, which naturally had a good time for the suppliers in the supply chain like ourselves. So this continued from till about 2022 September, and then we saw markets opening up and consumers gradually starting to divert their spend towards other things. For example, travel. As a result, they started to deprioritize the clothing buy, especially because during the COVID time, they bought stuff, but they didn't have a place to wear it, which meant that obviously there was more in their wardrobe, more inventory in their wardrobe. Parallelly, our buyers, brands, also thought there'll be continuous growth in the following 2023 as well, and they started to buy and build inventory in the United States and other European markets. So this led to a situation where suddenly demand dropping from the Western markets, brands having excess inventory, and this excess inventory situation created a situation where the buyers had to take a sudden pause to the purchasers. Now this was something that we never expected to come suddenly, and in fact in 2022 September onwards, we saw a sharp decline. And when I say we, I'm talking about the whole global supply chain, be it China, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, almost every country faced the impact of the slowdown. Continued directly for about 12 months. About 2023 September onwards, we started to see a gradual recovery. In fact, that's probably because the consumers had used up their clothes in the wardrobes and started to buy again gradually. Brands also responding after they sold off their inventories, starting to respond gradually. And by about early this year, that is about February 2024, we started to see that the supply chain is coming back to maybe not to the same levels, but at least to similar levels of volume growth. So our factories were full and are full today as well as we speak. Inventory correction probably now has completed, and now the Western markets still are showing some volatility. We are not seeing significant growth in the Western markets, especially in the US and Europe. That has really kept the supply chain a bit volatile because the demand pickup that we saw has not necessarily given a steady growth for maybe the next 24 months. So we will have to see the elections in US, it will behave before we look at a major expectation in terms of the demand growth. While the volumes have come back, which is the good news, that the competition intensified. And as a result of that, there was a significant price war between Bangladesh, Vietnam, India, Sri Lanka. Everybody was looking for orders. So whatever the price that they could get the order, they were taking the order. And obviously prices started to come down quite sharply. And those price drops will not get back to where it was. Now that's a big challenge for us at the moment, which means that for us to sustainably grow, profitably grow the business, we also have to adjust our cost structure. We have to adjust our productivities so that it improves beyond where we are today and ensure that we have the profitable model, which requires rethinking, rebuilding, and a transformation in the industry.
In the backdrop of these challenges, you also encountered a challenge of sorts in Bangladesh. You have several operations there. Could you give us a pack down on it?
Yeah, actually, the incidents that took place this year in Bangladesh did have a few days of disruption, but I must say that the industry recovered pretty fast. I mean, faster than expected. People started to come back to work and the factories restarted with a short lapse. I mean, we would have had about 6-7 days of disruption for that whole period. and thereafter the absenteeism was very low and people started to come back. So industry started to recover very fast. Obviously the political system and other challenges still remain. The factories will be running. Global brands who work there will have committed to continue their commitments to Bangladesh. They may look at the growth that they were originally looking at to be managed or to mitigate the risk a little bit, but other than that, it's a big economy, big apparel exporter, so it's not easy to pull that out and kind of replicate it. So I don't think that will ever happen. Bangladesh will remain a strong apparel exporting destination. And some part of the overflows will come out of Bangladesh because the buyers will look at mitigating the risk, and that might give opportunities to countries like India, Sri Lanka to pick some of those volumes and see how we could actually drive productivity and take it forward. But the challenge will be also the price, because Bangladesh was having a very strong price competitive offering. Now some of those orders to come back to Sri Lanka, we will also have to offer very similar type of prices to get it, which will be challenged. I think for us to get to that, a lot of that transformation I was talking about earlier should happen. And that also applies not only to the Bangladesh, but also to the orders in China, because over the years, China and US, there have been duties and other geopolitical aspects that have been happening. So as a result, there have been orders moving out of China. And some of those orders have come to Sri Lanka and this part of the world as well. And that will probably continue to happen. But I think the critical thing from an industry perspective is to win these orders. I don't think it's a question of availability of orders. This industry is too big, right? There is about almost $500 billion of exports of apparel in the world. And we are only $5 to $6 billion at the moment. So we have enough of orders, but it's about how do we take those orders profitably and execute, because the price points will become a challenge unless we change and transform and improve our productivity in the industry as a whole.
The corporates are facing a huge challenge with current taxes. Can you give us your take on it?
The tax regime changed a couple of years back. Profitability of the industry will further get challenged because of the direct tax increases. How are we going to take some of those costs and factor that into our productivity improvements, and how to recapitalize and capture that back?
Sri Lanka is very famous for apparel manufacturing, but we do have problem in kind of turning out our own brands. What is your take on this?
Retail industries and brands are a completely different ballgame. It's another industry. It's not you can't see it as an extension of manufacturing. It's a completely different business altogether. So you have to understand the skills that are needed, investments that are needed, the mindset that is needed. Just because you have a t-shirt doesn't mean that you can brand and retail it, because that's a different business. There is opportunity to add value through forward integration into brand and retail side, and some of the corporates have done that and done quite successfully as well. But I think it will take some time for us to acquire those skill sets and move forward. But Sri Lanka, maybe 20 years ago, we were like tailors. We took a tech pack, what we call, from the customer, and we just produced that. But today, larger organizations in Sri Lanka have built up the design development capabilities, which used to be in maybe New York or London or in the Western world. So those capabilities have been brought in here, and today we create product, we design product, we develop products for our brands and work with them to co-create and bring to the market. So that itself is a forward integration that we have done, and I'm sure as we progress there will be more opportunities to explore beyond.
But you do also have your own brand called Moose, if you can explain about it.
Yeah, so Moose at the moment concentrates in the Sri Lankan market predominantly. We have few overseas expansions as well. We have a fair share of the local market, and the idea is to continue the dominance in Sri Lanka and also to expand beyond and look at what are the other global markets that might be interesting to explore.
Have you decided on anything, or will it be regional initially?
Yes, it's more regional at the moment.
Speak about your sustainability impact and things that you're doing in that sphere.
Sustainability is a buzzword today. It's very close to the heart of the consumer who buys our apparel. So naturally, over the years, there have been work that has happened in this industry, probably slightly ahead of the other industries, because our export-oriented mindset to stay ahead in this ESG, environmental, social and governance framework. Environment side first. Significant portion of manufacturers in Sri Lanka have gone into solar generated power. If you take Brandix, for example, we have invested over the last 10 years into about 20 megawatts of power generation through solar in all our factory roofs in different parts of the country. Consumption versus this generation, we generate more solar units today than what we consume as electricity, which means we are net zero positive at the moment. We will continue to have our commitment towards the environmental sustainability, plus also what we discharge into the water, solid waste, all have been consciously reduced over the years, both technology as well as simplified methodologies that we follow in the organization. So that's a key focus for us, the environment aspect. On top of that, the social side, I think the communities that we work with, our employees and the extended base, we have a lot of programs that go around our factories, which are mostly in remote areas. We ensure that the water availability, other requirements by schools, our associates, school children, especially the school bags, the shoes, to the books, to the full kit that they need, supporting the university students, and many other initiatives have been taken to support the communities, because at the end of the day, it's the community at large which should be seeing the benefits of organizations like us. We operate like a listed company. We have the full toolkit that is required by in a listed company, whether it's financial reporting, whether it's the board governance, whether it's the audit committees, the board subcommittees, and we ensure as an organization that all the compliance aspects are being covered in a such a way that it meets the global standard. Part of our DNA today, and we want to make sure that we continue to be at the cutting edge as we go along in the future.
When you spoke about the solar power project, can't that be a separate vertical in your business?
We are looking at making sure that what we consume is being generated through scope 1 in the ESG framework. We'll look at our boilers and other peripheral equipment that we use, minimize the usage of non-renewable energy sources. The third segment that we will focus is also the third-party suppliers or transport that we use with the third parties and other means of reducing the use of non-renewable energy.
The new Electricity Act will enable power wheeling. Will that be advantageous?
We have now started to consume more electricity than what we used probably in the last year or so. So one thing that we are doing is we are looking at energy saving methodology. We also look at how we should structure additional solar units to be generated. So if our roofs cannot hold so much of additional solar units, power wheeling type of models will work. Power wheeling essentially means that we can set up power generation in a different location to our existing usage or the factories, and use that as a part of the overall netting off.
Would you like to talk us through your innovation arm?
Yeah, I think the innovation has been a very important differentiating factor for Brandix as well as some of the industry players who have taken that additional step, like I said before, to drive product development, design capabilities, and ensure that we co-create the products with our customers. Now that's something that has been giving us good results. Try to come out with designs which probably can help a brand, one of our customers, to do better. So this is something that takes time, because you need to invest and you need to have patience in this segment, because you can't just expect results overnight when you're looking at an innovation journey. So it's a journey. I think we have invested over the last maybe 15-20 years towards this gradually, and we made good progress as well. And that means obviously we get some kind of a price benefit also for the investment we make. And that's something you need to continuously do, because you can't say today I innovated and got a good product out, because tomorrow that product will be outdated or duplicated elsewhere. So you need to have your next innovation come into the market. So it's a continuous process, and we are committed. And I think as an industry, this is something that we need to do more, because as a country we can really step up if we have the capability to bring in new products to the market.
What is the way forward for Brandix Group?
The industry needs a transformation, and that's exactly what Brandix is doing, because we are focusing on transforming the organization to, like I said before, to bring this innovation engine to be stronger on one side. On the other side, look at adding new markets and new customers into the portfolio and drive the sales generation capabilities, And then also on the other side, we are looking at how our factories can deliver at a very competitive price point. If you don't have the cost and the productivity managed to a level that it can be giving a globally competitive price point for our salespeople to sell the product, then there is no point in doing business. So that's the transformation I'm talking about, and that's something that we've been consciously working on over the period of time, and we will continue to invest into digital, real-time data, and automation, which will help to improve the cost structure and also to drive the productivity further up. And one of the key things that we are working with our workforce today, we have a large workforce in the machine to run the machines. Our associates are working tirelessly to embrace technology, embrace the automation, and that rollout program will be a crucial aspect, in my view, to drive the productivity and way forward for Brandix. So that's part of our transformation. In different aspects, we are working through very closely to bring these areas in. So that's the way forward for Brandix.
Thank you very much for those candid insights, Mr. Premaratne, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.